So I said yesterday on Twitter that had a lot of reaction, which I knew it would. I ranked the majors.
Okay.
So I said that for
I
me,
didn't see this.
it went absolutely huge. It had over 1 million views. And I put the only correct way to rank the men's major golf championships is the Open, the Masters, the US Open, the PGA. Did a bit of tongue-in-cheek, knowing to get a reaction. You could argue, you may argue, the Masters is number 1, the Open's number 2. I think we can both agree that the US Open and the PGA are 3rd and 4th, right? So that's one thing. I'd like to hear people's opinions on that, maybe in the comments. Do you agree with me on that or not? I know you can switch, can't you?
I can switch between the Open and the Open and the Masters, depending on whether it's April or July.
Fair dues. Okay, well, I think that's fair. However, what I also got thinking this morning on the way into work was, I am now gutted that it's July the 22nd and there's no more major golf until April of next year. It's too long.
That's crap.
So I've changed the season. Do you want to hear me out?
I'd love to hear how you're going to modify golf for the
I
future.
suddenly become the boss of golf worldwide. The R&A, the USGA feel like we're not qualified enough to run golf. We need somebody new. We need somebody who's off 4, but can't they break 80?
They heard your impression the other day of the R&A.
Correct, a laid back guy. Yeah, they want someone that is a bit Marmite on videos, and I'm your man. So,
exactly what they're looking for.
Exactly what they're looking for. Right, okay, so here we are. April, you'll be happy to know the Masters is staying as it is.
Great. No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Because the Masters is, again, arguably in some people's eyes, the biggest tournament that gets the golf season up and running. We love it. So that's fine. We're then going to say June. So we're going to have May. We're going to have nothing on in May. No majors, okay? We're then going to go June, US Open. So that can stay where it is. So we've actually, we've taken the USPGA or the PGA Championship out for a minute. April Masters, June US Open. So there's a nice month gap there to get the juices flowing, get the excitement building. We're then going to say in August, we're going to move the Open back a couple of weeks. So rather than being in July, it's going to be August. Now that shouldn't, in theory, and in theory is the key word here, make too much difference to the event itself because, Scotland or England or obviously Ireland now, the difference between July and August shouldn't really make any. We have good Augusts, we have good Julys, we have bad Julys, we have bad Augusts, okay? So we've now gone June and missed a month July into August. Now, here's the key. We're going to miss September and we're going to throw in the PGA Championship in October. However, on Ryder Cup years, we'll move it to November.
That's nice, yeah.
Okay. So we've now gone month for a major, month off, month off, month. So basically, we extend our major season from April to July to April to October. And then the PGA Championship, which I think we can all agree is the bottom of those 4 majors, let's be honest, that can become a worldwide event.
Correct.
That is played in either Australia or the Middle East. Maybe that might get a bit of opinions back and forth, I don't know, but somewhere where it's still warm. It could even still be America occasionally. I don't know what side of America's warm in October. I'm sure there's some. And then we've got a real meaning behind this worldwide major that has something about it. It can still be called the PGA Championship, but you've now extended the season. When that does get wrapped up in October, you then go, okay, it's Thanksgiving in America, it's Christmas, whatever. Before you know it, the season's back again. How much better is that?
Agreed.
There you go.
I don't think it was a million miles away from that in the past.
It wasn't.
Because I remember when, not only fairly recently, the Open was never used to be the last major of the year, did it?
It was the PGA, which was in August. I think that changed in 2016.
So it was really, all that moved was the US Open went to May,
Correct.
PGA Championship went to June.
So US Open's June.
The other way around.
It went into May, the PGA, correct.
So I don't think, really just going back a couple of years there where it was actually that time frame anyway, because I don't like the Open being the final major of the year. And it does feel very, 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 very long time now before the next major.
It does, and I think as well, for the players who are coming into form now, like a Xander who's on 2 majors this year, he's now got to wait till April. It's a long time to wait. Now, we know the 4 majors, and you could argue the players throw that in there, and obviously the Ryder Cup on Ryder Cup years, etc. But that's what really is the staple of the golf season. On a non-Ryder Cup year, which obviously is the case this year, it does feel like you could happily now not watch golf until April. Yes, we've got the Olympics, but, it's an anomaly. But you've got to wait till April. It's not right.
And as a player, you've got to wait so long. Like, imagine now, look at all the players that are licking the wounds this week. Like, Justin Rose wants another major now. Rory McIlroy, after missing the cut, he wants another major to play now. Do you know what I mean? Like, they all want that next chance, and to wait so long, so many things can change.
Yeah. And also, again, like, it was great for us, we are British, we might be biased, we probably are a bit biased as to why we rank the Open so highly. It's kind of steeped in history, etc. as well. But having 3 majors in America when golf is such a global game. Now, I know you've got obviously advertising rights and but I bet like a Japan or somebody would love to host a major championship.
Why not bid for it? Like the Olympics do, or the Ryder Cup does. Like, allow countries to bid for it and allow it to be a choice. Allow it to be the choice of the golfers. Like, imagine having it going down to 2 final destinations and allowing the golfing community to vote on it potentially.
Another question for you then. There's always been 4 majors. Obviously, the women had 4 and they've now got 5. Is it the Evian that got brought in, which is kind of the least? It's still a major, but it's kind of looked at a bit. If there was a 5th major launched that would then extend the season, inevitably the negative to that would be that it doesn't seem to have any value because it's the 5th major, it's new, it's a bit Mickey Mouse, it's got no history, no heritage. However, if within that 5th major, obviously the criteria was, the top golfers in the world, like a Masters or an Open, but maybe they're still qualifying, etc., whatever. Quite quickly, I'm sure that would start to look like a real event, because if the best players are playing at the best golf courses and the best competitive players, then winning that would still be super important. Is there a space for a 5th major?
Yeah, the players.
Could that be elevated to actually be a major?
Well, it's in March, so straight away it fits in the time scale, because that could be I like that as the first major.
More so than the Masters?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Because not that we're into tennis massively, I'm certainly not. Wimbledon kicks in July or whatever. And people are like, oh, that's when the tennis season starts. But for actual tennis fans, it won't be.
No.
And even for golf fans in the UK, like, is July the kick point of when people get into golf? It's too late. I would really love the players to become a major. However, I don't think it ever will, because realistically then, does the history books not all just get ripped up? Because how can then Jack Nicklaus not, if he's going to be the most decorated golfer ever with winning 18 majors, if they then introduce another major, that gives everyone else another chance. It gives them 20% more chance of becoming the most successful major winner ever.
And although I do agree, kind of playing devil's advocate, why do we always look back at history rather than creating our own? So, for example, there wasn't 4 majors to start with, was there?
No,
there was one, and obviously they got added. And it used to be the actual Grand Slam used to be the amateur championships. It was the British and the amateur and the US amateur before because the Masters is quite new. When was the first Masters played? So you're right, but equally these things do get created. I wonder what people thought about that when they first got made.
That's a good point.
So why don't we when the first Masters was played in 1934, and the first Open by memory was 1880 something.
Was it not 1860?
It might be 1860. Let's have a quick look. I had a look before. The first Open was 1860. I think the US Open was 30 years later.
Yeah, I remember it well. I feel I would really like the players to become a major.
But would it be too similar to others? Would it be too similar to Augusta in some ways, that it's at this course every year?
Yeah, but I mean, the players was not always in March. That used to be in September.
Keep it in September then. Because then you'd have the Open now, and then the Players in September.
Love that. Well, then the PGA Champs could be a December or January.
Question for you then. When you're watching a major like the Open or the PGA, whatever the major actually is, when somebody wins a major, what is it about winning that major that almost gives them that legend status in your eyes? Is it the fact that they're playing against the best field?
It is the best field.
So if we have more events with the best field, but still keep it relatively small in terms of the amount of them, 5 or 6, would you watch 6 majors a year?
I'd go with 5.
5 majors a year.
5's a good number. And I would spread them out through the year. For me, the majors you can't argue. I mean, you could argue even this tiny bit. Have the best of the best of the best players played this week.
Have the best of the best of the best. I would say so, yeah. Who's not?
Sergio.
But you're right, but he tried to qualify and didn't qualify, so therefore he's not the best of the best in my eyes.
Yeah, I suppose that, he did try and qualify.
Everyone's got that's the difference between the Masters, because the Masters is obviously done off world ranking, and you could fall as it currently stands, Rosie filmed with him once, wouldn't have been at the Masters, and he couldn't have qualified for the Masters, I don't believe.
No, okay, that's a valid point. Yeah, well, he did then. He beat everyone. There's definitely a different status. You look at golfers different when they become
100%
major champions, and
but
now
you don't when they've won the Players, and it's still arguably the best. You don't get a few.
But how how do you get in the players? Like, sounds daft. Well, first off, none of the live guys are going to be in the
that's
players.
The difference
that's
right
one.
Now.
Dan Brown's not going to be in the players, is he?
No.
You can't qualify for the players, as far as I'm aware. So you can qualify for the US Open and the Open, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be in the right world ranking or invited by Augusta National for the Masters. How do you get in the PGAs? PGA champs? I'm sure you can qualify
as a
PGA.
PGA Pro, yeah. And then it'd be obviously world ranking and PGA Tour finishes, etc.
So I think the only one that's different, like, unless you're a PGA Tour player, you can't play in the players, can you?
No.
So that
unless it's I don't think there's qualifying for the players.
That would need to be tweaked. The other thing I'd heard a lot about this week, and you might remember, I don't, funnily enough. Do you know that Open qualifying used to take place the Sunday, Monday of the Open?
I'm not sure if I do or not.
So final qualifying, which now takes place probably like a week or 2 weeks before the Open, used to take place on the Sunday, Monday of Open week at a site that's about, within the vicinity of the Open venue.
Like it.
How good would that be?
I like it.
I feel like that would become a televised event. I would watch that, genuinely.